In this video, you're going to get the step-by-step protocol as I summarize the time management and productivity chapter from The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. Now, if you clicked on this video, I imagine you're somewhat familiar with this book, but if you don't have all the details, it's really a book about business leadership, entrepreneurship, and marketing. And so Chet, I was just looking at his bio, he's worked with, like they said, I think 60 out of 100 of the Fortune 100 of the largest public companies in the world. He got his start managing like several, I think a total of like billions of dollars of these different business units and magazines for Charlie Munger, who's Warren Buffett's assistant, or right-hand man, so to speak. And so all that's to say, this guy is very, very qualified, and actually he is often referenced by other very successful thought leaders and business type folks as someone who influenced their success. And so I also want to draw a connection to happiness here, right? Because I don't always do like kind of typical like your YouTube entrepreneurship guru type videos. That's not really what I'm about. But what I've observed is that happiness and time management are very interconnected. That is to say that often a major obstacle to people having, let's say, optimal happiness and quality of life lies in time management. And they say like, I just have too much to do, or I can't keep track of everything, or I don't have time for myself. I hear this all the time. So if you are kind of a business and productivity type, I think you'll get a lot of value out of this video. But even if you're not, I hope that you will think about applying some of these to your own lifestyle so that you can better control your time and ultimately use it to, of course, invest in things that bring happiness. So let's get into it. So the main shift that's highlighted in this chapter is he talks about is a shift from reactive to proactive. So you can think of that as, are you driving your day or is your day driving you? And if you really think about it, I'm not perfect with this even still, but like for the vast majority of people, the vast majority of the time, it's like their day is driving them. It's a reactive mode. So think about it. You get into the office and maybe you have a couple things on your to-do list. And so you sit down, but then you open your email and you get caught up in your email. You're going through and you start reading through one. You're like, oh, I don't have time to get to this now. So I'll go to the next one. Oh, I'm going to reply. Go to the next one. All right. You kind of get clean on those. You start working on whatever you're working on. And then, your manager pops by your desk or your coworker and just, hey, what's up? How was your weekend? And cool. And that turns into 15 minutes. And then you get back, you start working for like 20 minutes, and just as you're starting to get focused again, you get a Slack that's like, hey, can you check out this report? I need your help with something. And so you go do that, and then you finally feel like you have an hour to really get into that to-do list, and you're working through it, and all of a sudden your manager again checks in. He's like, hey, can you jump on Zoom real quick? I need you to show me something. So you get on Zoom, and we all know how this goes. And often what happens is we get to like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and we kind of look back and we're like, what happened? What happened to my day? And so that is, I would say, the kind of key insight that Chet Holmes, and I also teach when I teach things on work-life balance and time management, is how can we better shift from reactive to proactive? And now importantly, we need to have time slots in our calendar or in our day where we shift into reactive mode, right? Because if you say, I'm never going to be reactive, like I'm never going to respond, like you can't just not respond to emails or text or all these different things. So it's advisable to have, maybe it, depending on your role, it's an hour a day. Maybe it's 4 hours a day if you're someone who is like client facing or manager handling a lot of inquiries. But the idea is that you have some specific pockets of reactive responsive work, but the majority of your day and the structure of your day is outlined in a proactive way. So again, the work isn't driving your day, but rather you are driving your day and you are choosing what to work on. It's prioritized and it's organized. And we'll talk about how to do that. But that's the fundamental shift. And so Chet outlined his story of doing this. He said when he was a senior executive at the one company, he was working like 10-hour days, basically 7 days a week. And it was just like I described, meetings, getting pulled into emails, blah, 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 all these different directions. And what he did was he basically instituted a policy. He used a phrase something like he was, had like death by, it was like drive-bys or something. But it was gotta minutes. He'd say, hey, you got a minute? And then that would turn into a 15-minute. Hey, you got a minute? And that would turn into a 40-minute meeting. So he said no more gotta minutes. He issued a memo to like his 20 people he had reporting to him, said, if you have a got a minute type question for me, you will file it on a notepad. And then once a week when we're all together in a meeting, you can ask me about it, basically. And then for any meeting ahead of time, there had to be a clear outcome and agenda submitted like formally, and then they would schedule the meeting and go about it. And he said he basically, the moment he did that, not only did he dramatically increase his productivity, but he started working kind of normal hours again. So that's the first shift, but he outlined 6 steps that you can practice to do that. So let's talk about that. The first rule, so to speak, and I like these because they're pretty simple and straightforward. The first rule is only touch it once. So this kind of goes back to the email example I gave at the beginning, where you maybe have this happen sometimes, or you've got all these different notifications and you click on the first one and it's like, I don't need it, I'll delete it. Next one, not important, I'll delete it. Next one, all right, yeah, maybe I'll hit a quick reply. Yeah, I'm free at that time. Next one, you're like, I don't think I have time for that. Next one, I'm not sure I have time for that either. Next one. And so you have all these things where you're often like spending, it adds up to be, 15 minutes a day, maybe 30 minutes a day even, which of course is like, what's that? 4 hours over the course of a week, where you're basically like double working emails or texts or all these different things. So the first rule is just touch it once. Now, an example of that would be you get that email that says, hey, here are the monthly income statements for this month that you need to review. You say, well, I don't really have time to get into that right now, so I'm either going to put that email in a reference folder, add to my to-do list, review monthly emails, see reference folder, or maybe you add to your calendar a 30-minute time block for the next day that says review the financial report email, whatever. But the idea is you're not going back and reworking it in your email. You either work it right then, or you decide when it's going to be done, kind of putting it on your task list or putting it in your calendar. So that's the first rule, is only touch it once. And of course, you want to encourage your teammates or the people that you supervise to have a similar rule for your team, for anything going on internally. Is not wasting time, double, triple review. I mean, I'm even guilty of this myself. There are emails I know right now, because I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty good at this. There's one email I can think about in my inbox that has probably been in there for like 2 weeks. And I keep saying, when I have time, I'll review it. When I have time, I'll review it. And I've literally probably read over the thing 4 times and spent like an hour on it, but have not actually done anything tangible and like haven't really digested what it says. So touch it once. The next one is Chet talks about how, it's important to have a to-do list, but we can also often feel kind of this psychological pressure or almost psychological dissatisfaction with our to-do list, because if you're a very organized type or a high achiever type, your to-do list might be 50 different things and it is never done. You never get to the end of it. You cross off one thing and 2 things get added. You probably felt that before. I know I have. And so he says, look, instead of that, here's what you want to do. Take 10 to 15 minutes at the end of your day. Okay, 10 to 15 minutes at the end of your day. And you're going to plan out what are the 6 most important things you need to get done tomorrow. 6. Now, you may be wondering why he picked 6. I also don't know. He does not explain it in the book. He said that was a reasonable number. I would prefer probably 4 to 5, but hey, you do whatever you want to do. So let's say maximum of 6 things. And he's like, so what are the 6 key things that if I got those done tomorrow, it would be successful, right? So that's your second step is, right, we're starting to, again, go from reactive to proactive. So today, think about tomorrow, what are the maximum of 6 things I need to get done, okay? Step 3 is for those key tasks, you should go through that list now. And actually, maybe you can pause this video even and jot this out for yourself so that you can get the exercise as we go. So you have this list of, let's say, 6 items, and just quickly try to think, how long is it going to take for you to get each of those outcomes? So maybe if yours is like, I need to read a couple chapters of this book, that'll take an hour. I need to meet with my business manager, that'll take an hour. I need to put together a proposal for a client, that'll take 2 hours, whatever. You just map it all out. And then here's the important thing. Remember, I said you need to have some flex time in there for responding to things. So you're probably going to want to make sure you got 30 minutes here and there, maybe 2 to 3 slots of 30 minutes to check email, stay up on those inbound requests. But you should be able to say, okay, here are my 6 things, and here's about how much time each one's going to take me. And importantly, you're probably only going to have, because remember, things are going to pop into your calendar or issues are going to come up as you go through your day. He recommends doing 6 hours. So you have a maximum of 6 hours worth of stuff on that list. And if it's more than 6 hours, it's probably not realistic to be done in one day. So you need to cut that and move it on to a different day. So I hope you're following along, right? You've got 6 things and you have a tally of basically how much, a running total, I should say, of how much time it's going to take altogether. And you should be keeping that under 6 hours. And you can adjust this to fit your needs, but that's the idea. Step 4 then is to actually plan out when you're going to do the things. And importantly, this fits with the next step, which is doing it in the order of importance. Okay, so start, right? You're going to look at your calendar, look at your day, and try to say, hey, I know I said, this is going to take an hour, this is going to take an hour, this is going to take 2 hours, this is going to take 30 minutes. How is this going to fit with my day? And then, we said the next step, you can kind of group these 2 steps together. Do it in order of importance. Because if you start to look at your list and try to map out your day, I'm guessing, for many of you watching, there is going to be a tendency to put the harder, maybe bigger picture, less urgent, but more important things later and try to cross off the easy stuff. Because again, it feels good psychologically. But no, we want to do the things in order of importance. Start with the most difficult task or the most important task, because then it's the least likely to get crowded out by other things. So kind of put those 2 steps together. You've got your list with the total hours, and you're trying to set out how are you going to tackle these? How's it going to fit into your day, around your meetings, around whatever, and do it in order of importance. And then the final step that Chet advocates, you can call this step 6 or step 5 if you group the mapping out of your day and the order of importance thing together, is to just throw things away and not accumulate too much information. And he talks about basically that his email setup that he uses automatically deletes anything sitting in there after 45 days. Sure, you may want to have a reference folder for something, not just deleting everything that comes in. But generally speaking, any information that you don't really need or that you could easily get again somewhere else, you don't need to hold on to. So trying to keep that inbox kind of towards the inbox 0 style thing. And just reference material, stuff on your desk, whatever. Again, I'm not perfect at this, but not holding on to extra stuff. So let's put this all together. So you can imagine now you have whatever system you have, and maybe it's getting you results, maybe it's not. And again, this is not just about like business and productivity. I think it also applies to just improving your overall quality of life, because you can importantly, and I think this is a shift I make from Chet's book, you can include important things in this process that are not necessarily work related. So maybe if it's really one of your 6 most important things for the next day is, hey, I want to really spend some time with my girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife or whoever that is for you. Or maybe one of your most important things is I really just want to like take a long walk outside and take some time for me. Maybe it's exercise, whatever. That should most likely be one of your most important things. So you're touching things once. When they come in, it's getting sent to a corresponding list, either a to-do list, or I'm going to put time in my calendar to get to this thing that I don't have time to do right now, or I'm just going to handle it right now. Then at the end of your day or sometime, right, you're taking, and you could probably do it first thing in the morning, but I think the day before is better. You're going to take about 15 minutes and just think through, okay, what are my 5 to 6 most important tasks for tomorrow? Okay, listed. Estimate of time for each one. Doesn't have to be perfect, and be generous here. That'll take an hour, that'll take 2 hours, that'll take 30 minutes, that'll take 30 minutes, whatever. And then you're going to plan out, okay, in order of importance, how am I going to fit those into my day? So this one goes here, this one goes here, I've got a meeting here, oh, I've got an hour for lunch, this goes here, boom. And then you have an actual outline or plan for your day. You're not holding on to extra information. And then when it actually comes time to jump into your day, and this is the most important part, and this is where most people implementing anything relating to time management fail, is that you have to do this consistently. And importantly, there has to be some flex in your system, and that you will fail. I guarantee you will fail many times as you begin to implement a system like this. But the real key success factor is not how great your system is or how sophisticated it is or how perfect it is. It is your willingness to do this with stubborn discipline. Chet uses the phrase pig-headed discipline, but stubborn discipline that says, I will do this. People around me that I manage or work with will either do it or they will work with me as I do it, and I'm going to do it consistently every single day, knowing that I will fail. But over the long run, if you start to accumulate that habit, that it gets easier and easier and easier. It will not be easy at the beginning, but I promise in the end it will be worthwhile. And finally, like I said, I want to just make sure it's clear that this has some pretty direct implications for happiness too. It's easy to think about time management and productivity stuff just in the work stuff, but I would encourage you, as you think about the shift to proactive and thinking about your most important 6 things or less, 6 or fewer things for the next day, that you include things on there that are really important for your life as a whole, not just for work. So, of course, physical exercise, maybe some sort of mental training practice, which I have plenty of videos on, but things like a little meditation, stress relief, breath work, whatever works for you. Even going to therapy maybe is something you do once a week. And then, of course, relationship time. So time spent with people who matter most to you, of course, I think is far more important than the amount of work. So there you have it. I hope this was successful, and I highly encourage you to check out The Ultimate Sales Machine, which is, again, a useful business and productivity book. This was a chapter that I hope gives you some very implementable takeaways. You have the 5 to 6 step system to begin practicing right away that'll help you get a better handle on time management. So here's a video that YouTube recommends that you'll like. As always, on my channel, you can find science-based tools as well as kind of personal applications to help you be at your best in work and in life. So this has been Jackson Kirchis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.